everyone. Welcome back to the Rings and Things podcast. I'm so excited to have Miss Jesse back in the pod.
Thanks.
We're talking all about what it's like being a wearer in this process, right? Back in the day, the wearers really didn't get a choice on what ring it was going to be. We might have sent some inspo photos, but it's 2024 and wearers have a voice, and we're going to talk all about it in today's podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course.
Happy to be here.
Yes, it's so fun. We've been talking a lot about diamonds and rings, and I just had a great conversation with Kendle about everything the proposer needs to think about. But let's be real, it's about the wearer.
It's always about the wearer.
It's always about the wearer.
I
Yep.
mean, the proposer definitely has to have their spin on things. It is, at the end of the day, a culmination of both people coming together as one and starting the next chapter of their love story together. But let's be real. The wearer is wearing the ring.
Yep.
The wearer is looking at that ring every day on their finger, and they have to be obsessed with their ring.
Yep.
So they need to be most of the time involved in some way or another.
Yep, totally. And I mean, as a jeweler yourself, are you working with proposers more often? Are you seeing wearers coming into the process more? What's that been like for you?
Absolutely. I would say that it's kind of old school to think traditional person comes into a jewelry store, they're going to go pick out a ring, they're going to hope that their significant other loves it and that they're going to propose. That's not 2024. That's going back to like 1912. Today in 2024, about 70% of the couples that I work with are working together as a couple in one form or another.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, especially as someone who I've been engaged once upon a time, I wasn't involved as a wearer, and now thinking about, being more mature and really understanding what I want in life and my goals beyond just the marriage, right? The house, the car, the investment properties. Buying a ring is an investment, and
Absolutely.
I feel like as wearers, we should be involved.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. It's the first big purchase the majority of couples make together. And I just think that assuming that somebody is going to like something is so outdated as a whole. Most of the time in the relationship, the person that's wearing the ring is going to look online. It's 2024. Like, they're going to look online. They're going to see those inspiration images. They're going to send it to their friends, their family. And you don't know what you're going to like. I find most couples that I speak with, they have no idea what anything looks like on their finger. They have no idea size, shape, anything going on. So you kind of have to get those things on lock before you're going to make a ring or make a purchase too.
Well, yeah, and I think, as wearers and proposers, neither people have usually had experience with diamonds, settings, the details. So there's lots of jargon out there for this podcast. As we said before, we're going to try to be as jargonless as possible to make it super easy. But I mean, again, it's like, how does someone know what they like or don't like when they're kind of just entering into this world of engagement rings? Maybe they've seen a friend with one, but haven't tried one on themselves. So maybe they don't even know what they like.
Yeah, because most people don't go over to somebody and go, oh my gosh, I love that rock on your hand. Can I try it on and see what that looks like? Nobody's wearing a huge rock on their hand in the first place. So even just trying on an engagement ring is such a foreign experience. And you got to make sure you're going to like this big rock that's sitting there. Not just go, oh, I hope I like this. I hope that this is what I'm going to wear for the rest of my life for the next 70 years.
Literally. And you want to, as a proposer, you want the wearer to love that thing. Not just kind of like it, not just say, oh, well, they got it for me and it was this price, so I'm happy. No, they should know the details. They should be able to input details to make sure that they would love it and want to wear it every single day of their lives.
Yeah. The wearer is not the only person that's going to see this ring. It's also going to be all of their family, their friends, the strangers on the internet stalking their Instagrams and going, oh, you just got engaged? Let me see that ring. Let me see that photo of the ring. What does it look like?
Yeah. Well, and you want your ring to be Pinterest worthy, right? Like, I want my ring to be snapshotted and on somebody else's inspo board.
Oh, yeah. And I'm nosy. I want to see what your ring looks like. Like, show me the details.
Yes, totally. So when you're working with clients and you have a proposer and a wearer in that client meeting, what is that sort of interaction like? Do you see it going from, the proposer sort of leading and the wearer's kind of there to just observe and make sure that, it's not going too crazy? Or is the wearer taking sort of a front seat? What has that been like?
The wearer usually is in the driver's seat with that one. I find most often in the past when I've met with both people in the couple, the proposer is the one that kind of just sits there and goes, I want them to be happy. Like, let's hear what they have to say. And a lot of the time, the proposer is learning for the first time, too, because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
So it's talking to the wearer. What do you like? Let's try some things on. What do you know? Teaching them both at the beginning of, like, the 4 C's and what it looks like. Talking about them. An engagement ring is supposed to represent your style. So are you simple, classic, elegant, timeless? Do you like something that's a little more edgy? Do you like something that's a little more like vintage in design? It's that wearer saying, this is who I am, this is my personality, because you want that to shine through what they're wearing.
Yep.
And the other person going, okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. Let's do that.
Exactly.
With Wove, that's one of the things that I love so much about the process is there's a replica ring. So that wearer can go, this is what I really like. This is what I think I want to see on my hand. Let's make a replica ring of it and see if I like it. Wear it around the house, show my friends and family, show my future fiance over and over again and go, doesn't this look so good on my hands? Like, let's make this real. But that's just, it's a really easy process being able to do that. Or at least trying things on in person, going, oh my goodness. Like, when you're looking at things in a case or an Instagram post or something online, it's kind of like seeing a dress hanging on hanging on a hanger or looking on a shelf. You could love that piece. That piece looks gorgeous. Like, that dress looks stunning on you. Maybe it wouldn't look good on me. Or maybe I'm going in the fitting room and going, oh my goodness, like, never mind. Like, love the fabric, hate the fit. Like,
yeah, that's such a good analogy because you're absolutely right. Like, I remember I was trying on different rings and I loved, my friend had this beautiful oval solitaire ring, gorgeous. And I was like, wow, I love that on her. But when I were to try on an oval on my hand, on my finger, it was overpowering. It was just, it didn't look like it did on her, on me. And I realized, okay, that might not be my vibe. I saw another, a radiant cut, which is really sort of like a rectangle, right? That has a little bit of a different type of sparkle than an emerald, which is also a little bit of a rectangle sort of stone. And realizing, oh, okay, like that sparkle on me and like with my other jewelry or like the way I like to wear my nails, right? If I love designs or if I do something really clean and simple, your ring should complement those things on you and not just be great on the shelf.
Absolutely. Completely agree. And yes, an emerald and a radiant, they have the exact same silhouette. But what's going on inside that stone?
So different.
So wildly different.
I love
an emerald.
Oh my God. I have really been on this sort of like emerald or radiant cut. I think it's going to end up being one of the two for me, but it's so hard. They are both beautiful stones. But again, like, you should be able to try that on, sort of see the differences and decide for you, not just what, your best friend would say. Because that's kind of where the wearers were in the past, right? Like, if the proposer was only talking to the wearer's mom or the wearer's sister, at the end of the day, that's still not the wearer.
That's not the wearer. And the wearer, you don't know what the wearer is going to like.
Right, right.
I find that that's very common. Or if I am talking to a client and I'm trying to help them source a ring and get a design, especially the woman or the traditional wearer, they always say to me, I love a pear, but I also love an emerald and I love an oval and I just don't know. I like an elongated shape and I want it to cover my finger, but I'm just not sure. Okay, slow down. Have you tried anything on in person? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And I'm like, when you try it on, it makes it phenomenally easy. Or saying, okay, what other jewelry do you wear? Do you wear a lot of yellow gold? Do you wear a lot of white gold? Oh, you like this like yellow gold feel? You're probably a yellow gold person. Like, let's dig into that. If that's what matches your skin tone, that matches your complexion, that what makes you happy, this is something you're wearing every single day. It's not something you're trading in and out like your other pieces.
Totally. And I think a lot about that too. My sister, she got a rose gold engagement ring.
Oh, nice.
And it was the first rose gold engagement ring I had really ever seen in person. And why she chose it was that very similar thing. She thought about her skin tone. She thought about the other jewelry she'd be wearing most often. And so a lot of times we choose white gold or platinum because it makes our diamonds bling a little bit more.
It definitely does.
But it might not necessarily be great for our skin tone or our undertones or like what other things we wear. So, for me, I'm thinking, okay, I wear gold, yellow gold every single day. I'm definitely not going to get a white gold ring like this one. But you know what my first engagement ring was?
White gold.
White gold.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, now I can't really wear like gold on this. So you start to think about those things once you're like living, you know, you have that moment of getting the box as the wearer being like, oh my God, I love it. Yes, all that. But then you start to wear it in real life and you're like, wait a second, this actually doesn't match.
It can also, be overwhelming because you're seeing all of these beautiful rings and you're going, oh my goodness, so much sparkle. I'd be thrilled with anything. But then you kind of take a step back and you're like, oh, like I really can pick anything. Like I can have anything.
Yep. And you can have the perfect blend of your styles, right? And again, like, you know, bringing in that wear into the proposer's design consultation, you can talk about those things. And what I love about, you know, working with a jeweler like you is you can figure out how to make it work. Like I can just tell Jesse, look, I wear yellow gold every day. How do I make that make sense? Yeah. And you're going to help me figure out how to make it make sense.
I hear some elaborate design stories. I have helped make design stories based around location. I've made like German architectural inspired rings. I've made very simple classic designs with the intent of stacking all kinds of wedding bands and really changing out that vibe. Some people like something very simple. Some people like something super in depth and super like Art Deco or very vintage. But at the end of the day, if you know who you are and what you like, the rest of it is easy because it's just a matter of figuring out what really speaks to you.
Yep, totally. And I think that's also the part that you want the wearer to be involved in is the design, the feeling, the emotions, the elements of your ring or your life that you want in your ring. And I think, you know, a lot of times when we think about, you know, looking for a ring, for an engagement ring or a wedding band as wearers, you know, a lot of times we only talk about the 4 C's. Like the only thing you can customize is the 4 C's or are the 4 C's. And that's not the case. There's so much you can do with the setting. There's so much you can do with the design elements around. And you really want a wearer's perspective as you're thinking about those things.
You really want to think about what you want on your finger. Do you want something super metal heavy and very chunky and elaborate? Do you want something a little more, this looks like a family heirloom that I got from the 1920s?
Yeah.
Does this look like something super simple because I know she likes things that are just going to last the test of time? It really just depends on the person. But it's so much more than just, I like this shape. I want this size. I want this and that.
Yep.
You got to kind of block out what everybody else is saying. Like, don't judge it compared to what your great-grandmother loved. Don't judge it based off of what your mom and your sister and brother like and what they're wearing. It's you. It's got to be you. And when the proposer looks down at your hand, it's got to speak to the person that is wearing the ring. That's why it's so crucial that the wearer is involved in the process. Whether that is them just kind of having a conversation and talking down to you and telling you like, hey, this is what I like. Here's my Excel document with all of the things. I get those all day long from people. The do's and don'ts or haves and have-nots of what they want to see. It just depends on the person. But I would say about 90% of couples talk about an engagement before they get engaged in one form or another.
Great. I love that. And I think, you know, there's this whole thing around a proposal being a surprise, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the ring has to be a surprise.
The ring doesn't have to be a surprise. It's kind of like when you're dating, you talk about if you want to have kids or not. And you talk about all of those. Where do I want to live in the country? Where is my family located? How is that all going to work in our relationship? The ring doesn't have to be the surprise. You could talk about the ring and then propose 6 months to a year to 3 years later. But at least you have it and you know what they want. And then you know that whoever the wearer is going to love it. Like you want them to cry and be so excited about the engagement. You don't want them to go, oh my gosh, yes, and then look down at the ring and be like,
literally, because maybe it's beautiful, but they don't feel like it's beautiful on them.
And you want them to feel beautiful. They're the most important person of the day, the life, the year. Like they're your soulmate. You want them to feel excited about it.
Totally. So talk to me about how you've seen wearers come into that process. So you have maybe that first design call where you're talking through different elements. Is there a point where, you know, the wearer kind of backs off? Like what do you normally see that flow like?
It's dependent on the couple, but I would say say more often than not, when it's a couple together, the wearer is coming in, the wearer is telling me what they want to see, they're telling me what they like, or even what they don't. Your don'ts are just as important as what you like, by the way. And I say that to every single person I talk to. If you have no idea what you like, but you know for a fact you don't like a round diamond, and you don't like white gold, and you don't want anything, I almost say parameters. Like, I know that I don't want anything bigger than 2 carats, but I don't want anything smaller than a carat either.
Right.
That's wildly helpful because it gives me guardrails for what you want to see and what you don't want to see. The rest can be up to that other person to figure out.
Yep.
More often than not, the wearer comes in, they say what they either really like or what they really don't. After that, it's up to the couple. Some couples, for Wove, for example, stick around making the replica ring, wearing it in their hands, or they just go, my partner is going to figure this out. Here's my guardrails. Everything else is peachy keen. I'm going to be thrilled with the design. And then I work with them. I would say by the time we get to stone selection, though, for that center stone, 99% of the time, whoever is getting engaged and getting proposed to, they're no longer a part of the conversation.
Yeah. I think that's so cool, though, because normally, you know, when you're walking into a store and you're looking at rings to choose from that store, that's kind of it. There's no way to sort of bring the wearer in or out, you know, based on what the needs are. And so with the Wove process, it allows you to really build that long-term relationship, to really understand their likes, their dislikes, and then build something where they can still have some of that surprise. And also a moment where you build a replica ring, you could propose with that replica ring, and then still make tweaks. It's not like a one moment you build one ring and like, that's it. Whatever you hope that you thought would look good up from a sketch, that's all you get.
That's all you get. That's it.
Right,
like, done.
Right.
And that's what happens in a traditional store often.
Yeah.
You try on that one ring, you're like pumped with adrenaline because all the beautiful sparkly lights and the shimmering in the cases, and you're just like, oh yes, this is it, this is it. You pick out the ring, you know what the ring is going to look like, you know the end result, and you just go, okay.
Oh, that's true. So then there's also a little bit of like,
there's no real mystery.
Proposed to, you're still seeing the same ring you picked out from that store. As opposed to with us, you kind of tell us the setting, you tell us the design. If you want to be included with the replica ring, you're included with the replica ring. If you don't, or if you want to make tweaks, that's fine. But then I'm working with the traditional proposer to pick that final center diamond and what it looks like. I'm making any of those final little tweaks, like engravings in the ring and hidden little messages or birthstones or those little like elements that nobody thinks of. I think the hidden birthstone of the little hidden messages is also another way where, again, as a proposer, you can say, hey, I'm going to make sure the wearer sort of understands and has her or his input on the full design. But there are those little somethings
that you don't see anywhere else, but the custom gives you that option as well.
Oh, I love that. I feel like it's such a way to still, like you said, bring your love story and who you are as people into that ring in a way that an off-the-shelf moment it's
not going to hit the same way.
It's not. It's just not. Okay, so obviously in the custom process, you want the wearer to be involved, but that's to say you kind of are already at that point. How do you start dropping hints as the wearer? Are you sending, a voice memo to a girlfriend and then tell him? Like, what are we doing these days?
Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to drop hints.
Okay.
It depends on how subtle you want to be.
Okay.
Making your significant other and future fiance follow Wove Made on Instagram, or just jewelry things on Instagram is kind of helpful. I know I've done that before. It can be as simple as seeing a ring online and going, oh my goodness, isn't this so pretty? My best friend just got engaged. Look at that. Or it could be simply a sit-down conversation. We've been talking about like our future together. Let's get engaged. Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It could be anything. It could be walking past a jewelry store and going, "Oh, look at that jewelry store. Like that's new."
Yeah.
Little somethings about. I would say using keywords like forever. I'm so excited for forever with you. I'm so excited with the future with you. I'm so thankful that you're in my life and can't wait to build those lasting memories and our forever together.
So it's kind of like we really should be hinting like we want this commitment.
Yeah.
And then we hint to styles.
Because nobody wants to go, hey, I want you to spend an X amount of money out of your wallet to get a ring.
Yep.
That doesn't exactly sound as romantic.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you're not getting a ring because you want a ring. You want a commitment with somebody. People don't think about that. It's not just getting an engagement ring. It's building a life with somebody, a partnership, a future, a potential family down the road. So I would say that's usually, I think, the more romantic way to go about it.
Totally.
But definitely sending those like little Instagram DMs of like the rings that you like, or saying those little key little things, it's helpful. It comes up naturally. Like I said, about 90% of relationships talk about engagement in one form or another before they actually end up getting engaged.
So wearers out there, or potential wearers out there, don't start with the ring hints.
Do not start with the ring hint.
We want to start with forever hints. That's what we want to do.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got to the point where we've talked about, we are forevers. We want to do this thing for life. Now I want to start hinting actual rings. What are some of the ways that you have seen clients bring those items together? You mentioned some PDFs. You mentioned some Pinterest. What are some ways that like you would recommend if someone was thinking about, getting engaged in the next 6 to 12 months? How do you start compiling that in the easiest way to then be able to like give it to whoever's going to get you that ring to go do their thing?
I would say it's usually either texting those images to them. It would be DMing those images to them, but also sit on it for a second. One thing I like to tell wearers is you could see something on Instagram. It's a beautifully curated moment, but that doesn't mean that you actually really like that ring. Like kind of sit on it for a moment and go, I love this ring. I'm going to screenshot it in my phone. I'm going to look at it again in 1 week from now and say, hey, do I still really like this ring? Do I still really like this design? Before you send things over.
Yes, that's so good, because sometimes you see this image and it's beautifully curated. The lighting is great. It's in a bed of roses. You can just feel the energy of this other wearer being so excited about this ring. But it's ornate, and you don't normally wear ornate things. Like there's just, so that's so smart to wait a week and just kind of sleep on it.
And screenshot a few. Like don't screenshot 1 or 2 rings. Like kind of go on a deep search and go, I like these 15 rings. And I know that sounds overwhelming, but I often get inspiration images. I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm getting inspiration images from either the proposer or the wearer, whomever is sending them. When I dig deep, somebody will say, I'm so sorry that I sent 15 images. That is a lot. They're all wildly different. They're not all wildly different. They're all yellow gold. They all have very similar looks to them. They have a similar vibe. Like it's kind of stepping back and going, what did these all have in common that really caught my attention?
That's so smart. So image overload is not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's more around giving you as a designer more to work with. You're kind of able to look across lots of images and find those patterns. And that is actually so helpful, right? Because again, as a wearer, we don't know what this stuff is called. We don't know what the stone is. We don't know the price tag normally that's on that ring inspo, right? And so working with the designer, you can sort of say, okay, let me see all the things you like. Let me see the things you don't like. And then I will help us find that alignment in the middle.
And that's why I think working with a designer is so important. Working with a designer, I've come to find, is crucial for a ring, as opposed to going online and just buying and clicking. Because when you buy and click, you don't have that one-on-one conversation to make sure you're getting something quality, to make sure you're getting something that they want. You're kind of just a little overwhelmed and going, I hope this is going to work out. It's my job to kind of help you through the process and make sure that you are comfortable with both what you're getting, but also what you're spending. Like I believe in transparency. I think the jewelry industry as a whole is wildly like secretive. And it drives me nuts. As a designer, I understand like walking into a jewelry store can be wildly overwhelming because people are following you around. There's so much going on. Like again,
they're like watching you to see what you're looking at to try to figure out.
You need to work with somebody you trust. That is my biggest key point is you should feel a connection to your designer. You should they should be personable. They should be able to talk to you and like simplify the process. Too.
It reminds me so much, and I talked a little bit about this in the episode with Kendle, but like it's like when you go buy a home and you are walking into this home with your realtor. Your realtor is saying, look, we can choose whatever home you want. I'm just your partner to make sure that you choose the right one for you. And I think the designer process is the same way. We're not trying to get you into one specific ring or one. we're saying, look, like, we're going to browse the internet with you. We're going to browse styles with you. We're going to curate something that will match you, and not necessarily just trying to push the diamond that's in this box in front of you right now.
Yeah, totally. It's not, I tell everybody, it's not my ring. Like, I can give you my personal opinion. I will give you my personal opinion if you ask for it. But I am only going to see this gorgeous ring if you come see me and show me the ring on your finger. You're the one that's going to see it every day.
Yep.
I need you to be in love with your ring, not me. It's not my point.
Yep. And you're not going to give, a ring or a design fake love either. You're not going to try to push them just because. It really is about what they love.
Want.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's tough because I think a lot of times too, when we think about showing our engagement ring to our girlfriends, we want it to have that ooh ah reaction, and a lot of times that can be intimidating as a wearer. You want to make sure, well, is the carat weight enough to make it an ooh and ah? You see the posts and memes on social, right, of like the super super tiny diamond and people kind of talking about that. But I think like when you work with a designer, someone who can fit what your needs are to your budget, and quite frankly will always be the expert. So they will always know way more options than what we can see on Pinterest or search for on Google, and match something where you can get that really proud, sort of admirable ring, but not necessarily have to get what you think your friends would like.
And I'll give you options.
Yeah.
I'll say, oh, you like this kind of style? What about this, this, or this? Like,
Right.
I don't want you to just come in with one ring necessarily and say, this is it, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to play devil's advocate because I want to make sure you love what you love. And if I'm speaking to the wearer, that's something that I'm going to do often, is I'm going to say, why do you love this ring? Tell me why this ring speaks to you.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing this? Pulling up pictures on the internet and going, have you seen this style or this style? Or showing them those rings in person in the different settings. It's really important that you hone in on why you like what you like, not just, I liked it because it was big and it was on Instagram, or it was small. I find often a lot of people in real life, they try to get that huge diamond on their hand and they think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's not always the most important thing.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that they like what they're wearing on their finger.
Yeah,
You don't need the
totally.
biggest ring on the block that you don't see from like just across the room, but across the bar, across the street, across like, no.
Yep. And it's also, it needs to match their lifestyle.
Yep.
Like the big rock is amazing for someone who likes that style, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best rock there is. There's so many other elements. And again, thinking about, the design elements of the setting it's in. One of the things that I think a lot about was when I had in my engagement ring, it had a pave style band, right? And I remember thinking like, after a while, like those diamonds on the side kind of scratched the side of my other finger. And that kind of bothered me a little bit, right? But like I loved my ring, so I was fine with it. But if I were going back and say, okay, if I were building a ring myself, knowing that my lifestyle, the way I move my hands, that kind of bothered me, I would have changed the setting. And with the replica ring or working with a designer, you would bring out those elements of like sort of like, how do you work? Do you put lotion on your hands every day? Are you having something slip? Like there's all those elements that as a designer you can help them really sort through. So it's not just about, the 4 carat. It's about the style of the setting and all those other elements of you being able to really like live in this thing and enjoy it.
Yeah. I ask every single client, whether it is the wearer or the proposer, what do they do for work? Do they work in an office? Do they work with their hands? Are they a doctor or are they working at a desk? How active are you? Are you going rock climbing on the weekends? Are you just laying in bed and watching Netflix all weekend?
Yeah.
Like it really depends on the lifestyle because I don't want to make a ring that's going to last a few years. I want a ring that's going to last the test of time.
Totally.
And if it's a ring that doesn't fit their vibe and fit what they like to do, they're not going to be happy with it either. It needs to be comfortable on their finger.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And when we think about, engagement rings as wearers, we have to also talk about wedding bands as wearers, right? And like I've been on this tip recently of thinking about a wedding stack, not a wedding band. So like for me, I will probably have a stack around my engagement ring. But talk to me about that as the wearer. Now at this point, you can have a wedding band created as you're creating the engagement ring or after the fact. Yeah. Talk to me about the wearer being a part of the wedding band process as well.
Yeah. That's often the case, is the wearer is like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what I want for my wedding band. I kind of know what I want to do together. Something that people don't think of when they're getting an engagement ring is this ring is going to be paired with another one. Right. So I always say, do you want that wedding band to fit flush to your ring, meaning there's no space in between? Do you think that they're going to want more is more, in the sense they want something really elaborate? They want like a big look on their final ring. Because if that's the case and they want a big wedding band, maybe we don't want to do a big engagement ring because we want them to complement one another.
Right.
Often now, wedding stacks are huge. We want not only the wedding ring, but we want the anniversary rings. We want the push present. We want all of those things. So it's something that you kind of have to keep in mind too, because overall, most people are not just wearing their engagement ring. You wear your engagement ring for a year or two while you're getting in the process of planning your wedding. Good luck to you on that. That's the stressful part. I tell every single person, the engagement ring is the fun, creative part. The wedding is the stressful part. I'm very happy to step out for that one. But you have to keep in mind the wedding band as well. And that's something I always bring up on that initial call, because in your lifetime, you're wearing the whole set for 50 to 70 years. You're wearing the engagement ring by itself for 1 to 2.
So it's really important to think about that. Like if you go, ham on diamonds on your engagement ring, you really don't have much room to
You don't have any room on your finger left. There's no real estate.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think the Kourtney Kardashian of it all with that huge rock on their hand, but it's not realistic. It's not going to fit anything else. She wears like a plain engagement ring on her hand for a reason most of the time, because she can't fit anything else on there.
Right. And so it's also, I think, the idea of building over time too. Like you mentioned, the anniversary gift, the push present. Like it's also kind of nice to think about that when you're starting your engagement ring, because if you are that type of person that wants to kind of have these milestones in life and recognize that we are all growing and changing humans, giving yourself a moment to say, okay, what sort of base do I want? And that engagement ring could be sort of the base, right? And then how do I want to build that over time? I think about, when I'm 40 and, at that point I should have more disposable income. I should have, bigger budgets. I want to be able to add on to that, right? I want to be able to...
The upgrade ring is real. The upgrade rings are real. It's my 20th anniversary. We're going to go get like a bigger ring, or we're going to trade in, or we're going to upgrade, or we're going to get that new wedding band.
But the wedding band is a part of that too. You can think about, hey, like we can get a wedding band or upgrade even the wedding band over time, or swap it out. Like there's so many things, but no matter what, they all have to match the engagement ring. Like at the end of the day.
They all have to match the engagement ring. The engagement ring is your foundation, and everything else is supposed to complement your foundation.
Totally. I love that. So, okay, rapid fire, last question.
Okay.
For the wearers, what is your last but biggest piece of advice going into this process? We've talked about wedding band connections. We've talked about, thinking about their lifestyle. Any other part of the process as a wearer that they should have in mind?
Be open-minded. I find today, especially, everybody is very influenced on one another. They're very influenced on ovals being the hottest thing right now, and everybody wants that oval shape. Be open-minded and be true to yourself. Make sure that you actually like what you're putting on your finger, and that you know that it's something that gives you those butterflies. It's something that's going to make you so excited every single day. Don't just follow that trend that you're like, everybody else is going to be oohed and awed from it.
Yep. It's all about how you feel about it.
Yeah.
So if you don't get butterflies, it's not the one.
It ain't it.
It's not it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
If it doesn't give me butterflies, I don't want it.
Yeah, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jesse, for coming to the pod and talking about what wearers should be thinking about. I will see you on the next episode.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks.
Bye.